Hello, everyone. Give me 1 second. And you can let me know also if the sound cuts off. I would appreciate it when I'm in like this because I want to do something here to get some stuff off of my screen, all the icons. I'm going to knock them off. Okay. And I hope you can hear me. I hope you can. I hope you can hear me there and here as well. Let me know if you can. I would really appreciate it. I guess I can make myself a little bigger here because I've got these all this space here. Anyway, I just want to discuss a little about Marvel Comics and how it's a propaganda outfit now at this point, especially post 9/11. They decided to give me 1 second, guys. I want to see something quick. If I can see if I'm on. Especially post 9/11. Okay, sorry. They decided to apologize. That was probably a big echo. Give me 1 second. And also, another one. Thank you, Hamilton. No echo or anything. Appreciate it. Apologize. The last few times I tried echo and then no sound on when I go full screen, which I'm going to do right now. And if you can, let me know if that is not working. I would appreciate it. I'm just going to talk about a little about Marvel's Islamic propaganda. From a lot of old Facebook posts of mine, because I try to get the articles that I did for my blog. I can't access them clearly because my blog was bombed out of existence by Google. But let me try this right now. I'm going to try to get this out there to YouTube. And you might hear an echo when I am on there. Okay, thanks, Hamilton. Appreciate it. I appreciate it. Okay, could be a problem here. Let's see. Hope it's not. I guess no. Turn this off. It keeps wanting to connect on my iPhone. I don't know why. Okay, thanks, Hamilton. Appreciate it. It was doing a whole, hey, Darren, how's it going, man? Let me just put this here. I want to put a link to this here. I'm going to have to. Okay. Because as I discuss this, I want to counter it with my own work, Pigman. And we will see. I'm going to pin it and then get back to that screen. Thanks for indulging me, guys. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. And let me go here, share screen. Okay. I guess it went there, but is it linked or can it link? I'm not sure. Anyway, guys, so here it is. It varies. It goes from 2013, 14 to 22 and 14. So it's not consistent, but I just did a search and this is what I was able to find. So I'm going to go through a number of these posts that I did over the years about Miss Marvel. This one is in 2015. And I just have a little commentary. Again, my old article has been knocked out. I do have one long one that's still accessible at Jihad Watch about Miss Marvel, as well as a PJ Media one, which is the 10 truths that comic book publishers deny about their Islamic Muslim superheroes, I think. But anyway, let me just go here, just quick. I'm going to go through them, through all the posts that I have here. And then after I'm done, I want to mention what I'm doing in response to this propaganda. And it is propaganda. There was a time, if you guys remember, well, for the last 10 years, where Miss Marvel, the shit character, she sucks. She's a shit character. She has no identifiable, there's no Uncle Ben origin story, nothing great about her. She sucks. And the writers suck, and they figured, well, we're Muslims, so we don't have to be good. the centers are so low for us that it doesn't matter as long as we call the character Muslim. The leftists will praise it, which they did, and even some on the right, like, well, she's a fine character. It's girls need some kind of role model. It's like, are you bullshitting me? I mean, do you actually mean that? No, she is. Okay, I gotta knock this out. It's, my phone is itching to send this send the stream to my phone. I don't know why. But anyway, far left comic book writer Mark Waid's new Avengers lineup: Hispanic Nova, female Thor, black Spider-Man, black Captain America, and front and center Muslim Miss Marvel. The pasty white Waid says he loves the fact that Iron Man is the only white guy in the comic. Piece of shit communist, Mark Waid. But yeah, and she's always front and center. She was always, even when Alex Ross did covers, he always made her bigger than everyone. He's such a lefty, Alex Ross. Great painter, piece of shit, commie leftist. And then, and again, it's just my commentary with so many links, some screenshots. I was commenting on Sana Amanat, who's the Muslim co-creator of this shit character, Miss Marvel, who wears a Yasser Arafat, the original quote-unquote Palestinian terrorist, who's not Palestinian, who's from Egypt and died outside of quote-unquote Palestine. She said, Miss Marvel co-creator says Kamala is on par with the MCU's top-tier heroes. Because she says so, right? I'll get to the comments thereafter. I'm going to go through a few of these. Miss Marvel co-creator Sana Amanat says Kamala Khan is on the same level of power as the more prominent heroes. No, she's not. So I said, let's put the Muslim leftist claim to the test. How many of you know of Thor, Iron Man, Captain America, Spider-Man, etc.? And how many of you know of Marvel's Muslim superhero? And this is to the general public, to those who follow me on Facebook. This is 2022. How many of you know of Marvel's Muslim superhero, Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, who, unlike Marvel's top-tier superheroes who've starred in their own movies, will make her live-action debut on streaming, where Disney Marvel can hide the low viewership numbers? And as it turned out, is the lowest rated, highest rated, meaning leftists gave it the highest, critics rating because they're afraid to say it's shit. But it got the lowest views of any of their shows. And people are asking, where's season 2? Why would there be a season 2? Why was there season 1? It's a question. And if you notice, Sana Amanat is now working for Marvel Studios, where she was working for Marvel Comics, and there was a vague scandal, if you guys recall, a handful of years ago, where she was fired from Marvel. It had to do with some relationship, something in the office that wasn't, something was off, let's just say. But now she's at Marvel Studios, and she's part of the Daredevil crew. And she shoved Miss Marvel's father in there, and mentions of her were 4 times, to the point where Daredevil said, yeah, your daughter. Or it kept saying, yes, the famous Kamala Khan, Anyway, so I wrote here, okay, one second. Viewers should know. Now, you may only know of her from me posting about her, and this is true. People didn't even know about her until I posted about her. And if so, then do you know what her powers are? Oh, and what a heroic look on her mug. She's always like that. Her and Miles Morales, they look scared shit. Why? I don't know why. And the only reason we began to talk about Islam was jihad. So what do you think is the one thing missing from her comic books and streaming series? This was 2014. This comment that I had about G. Willow Wilson, who was the other co-creator. And so here's a preview of the first issue of Marvel's Muslim superhero comic book. Unlike what the Muslim editor and Muslim writer have said, that Islam doesn't play a big role in it, readers are being hammered with Islam from page 1. Though it's good to see that a good number of commenters are not impressed with it and aren't afraid to say so, and are being called the usual names over it. I guess comic book movie people were like, what the hell is this shit? And I remember the first page, if you recall, I tried to read the series, by the way, guys, and I was going to be like, I was going to expose myself to this horrific, mediocre thing. I lasted 4 issues. I couldn't go further. It was that bad. But the opening page of the Miss Marvel is her somehow smelling bacon without her powers, but by the way, before she got her powers, whatever they are, like stretching weird big fists, behind glass at a deli, she could smell the bacon. Delicious, delicious, delicious bacon. They're trying to be funny, trying to be contradictory, like, oh, Muslims hate bacon, but she loves bacon. Corny, stupid, unfunny. And it's G. Will Wilson, who's a fat pig Muslim. She probably eats bacon. But she's a convert, which is the worst kind. And then 2016, the leftists and Muslims at Marvel used their Muslim superhero to get out the vote for Hillary Clinton. Huh. Okay. I guess it's not linking some reason. Now, this one was 2020. I'm going to read a little of this, guys, and then I'm going to... Let me read some comments actually first, and then I'll get to this, because it's a lot. Darren Wagner says, I've never accused Mark Waid of having an overabundance of brains. He's a shadow of what he was in the 90s as a writer, but as far as I know, he's always been infantile. Yeah, he's a piece of shit. He has destroyed any goodwill that he had for some of the good comics that he wrote, like The Flash. Certain issues here and there, certain things were good, some elements of Kingdom Come. But the Flash in particular, he loved the character. It came through. But he's such a communist. It's like, he's such a whining bitch that I can't stand him. I can't read anything from him now. It's impossible. Hamilton Berger says, the actress who played Miss Marvel in the TV show seemed very earnest and humble, refusing to attack fans who didn't like the show. She did, and then she didn't. She was trying to play both sides, Hamilton. I remember that at the time. She was trying to play both sides. But overall, she seems like not as bad as some of the other actors. Like, she's better than Pedro Pascal. I will say that. But she also needs to do something to play superhero. Lose some weight. Stop eating as much as you do. It's like, what the hell? You're playing a superhero. Get in shape. But there's a double standard. If you remember the Eternals also, remember Black Guy and the Chinese guy? They were fat. And they were like, they weren't expected to work out. Because they were afraid to tell them, hey, you got to get that fat off you. You got to work out. Some reason the Indian guy did work out for that movie, but the white guy was like the most jacked. It's a lack of standards because they don't respect them as much. The studios don't respect blacks and Asians and whatever. They just don't. They're racist. I mean, leftists, right? They demand that everyone else look jacked except for those quote-unquote minorities. But Darren says, the lefties are so obsessed with the word power. Yes, they are. Always using that. I used to think that was because that's what they thought we fans cared about, but I eventually came to realize that is what they care about, 100%. They all talk about also power dynamics. Like, that's you. That's your thing. You want that. You're, projecting onto others. Hamilton says, there have been many Catholic or Christian Marvel characters, including Daredevil, but it wasn't their primary character trait. They were heroes who were Catholic, not Catholics who were heroes. Absolutely right. 100%. Obi Ravioli, how's it going, man? Hail Bacon and CG. Absolutely right, Hamilton, because I think Miller introduced the Catholic aspect of Daredevil. And also, not that long ago, they confirmed that Ben Grimm is a Jew also. And they even played that up in the movie. Not played it up, but they had elements of that to imply it, which is fine, but it's not a main character trait of theirs. It's not their thing, unlike Miss Marvel. It's her thing. And her thing is also obsessing and idolizing superheroes. Do you think her Muslim family would be happy with that? Her having posters of superheroes in her room? No. No, they wouldn't. At all. At all. I mean, my father wouldn't even let me read comics. He wanted to burn them, my Muslim father. So that's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. Let me read this here. Excuse me. Let me read this here. Yes, Hamilton Berger. Kumail Nanjiani, in fairness, worked his ass off. I just mentioned that, Hamilton. I said the Indian guy did work out. He got jacked. Whatever reason. I guess they don't. Maybe they told him to because he's Indian, he could take it. That type of thing. The Asian and the black guy were fat. They were fat pigs, and they wore suits that didn't show it as much. Dark suits, and also that horrific gay kiss that they have. And it's not because they're gay, but it was so shoehorned in, and the characters try to make it a big deal too. It's like, if you guys are lovers, you just peck each other and walk. You wouldn't make this big dramatic kiss. I was like, what? Nah, that was really stupid and ugly. I gotta say, because that kiss was telegraphed 2 years prior to the movie coming out. How? Because that dumb fuck, Kevin Feige, said there's a gay kiss in the uh, Eternals 2 years before the movie came out, even before they started working on it. Meaning it was that was the point of the movie, to put that gay kiss in there, and the movie bombed for a number of reasons. It sucked. I was gonna skip it, and I was at an event, and my plane was to be a few hours late. So I say, all right, what's here? And I said, okay. So I watched that, and I don't regret watching it. I'm glad I saw that and know firsthand that it sucks instead of just a hearsay. But yeah, no problem, Hamilton. Yeah. So I wrote this in 2020. So again and again, the only reason we began to discuss Islam is jihad. It wasn't a good reason why we began. It wasn't a good reason why we began to discuss Islam, but because of death and destruction. And what do you think is completely missing from the fictional worlds of Marvel and DC's Muslim superheroes? Jihad. The only reason we began to discuss Islam. The Islam bitches at Disney Marvel are currently in production with their live-action streaming show of their Muslim superhero, and now WB DC just announced that their HBO Max Green Lantern series will have their Muslim Green Lantern as one of their leads. I don't know if they changed that. Oh, yes, I think they did, but not the James Gunn one. I don't think it has that. And in their description of the Muslim, they don't mention that the only reason we began to discuss Islam is jihad, and that 9/11 was a devastating attack on America, but instead that, quote, in the wake of 9/11, America has grown distrustful of young Middle Eastern men. Yeah, we have. Because thousands of us were slaughtered by Muslims. The rats skip over the Islamic atrocity against America in their wording in the wake of 9/11. And jump right into trying to make their Muslim Green Lantern and Muslims in general victims of America somehow. As I wrote in Truth number 9 from my 2013 PJ Media article, 10 Truths Mainstream Comic Books Evade to Promote Muslim Superheroes. Yes, there is, Darren. When was it? A decade ago? And he wore a stupid mask and he carried a gun. Why? I don't know why. I think, what's his name? The guy, Jeff Jones, stupidly created a Muslim superhero. He said, yeah, because it's my family background. I was like, you're a Christian. I don't give a shit. What are you talking about? Your background? What? Arab background? Yeah, but you're Christian. Why did you make a Christian Green Lantern? Why a Muslim? I don't know. And he sucked. Simon Baz, I think Simon Baz. And they showed him and his family being abused by Americans after 9/11. Sickening shit, man. Absolute I mean, just sickening. You know there is a spike in Muslim violence when we hear more than usual talk of Islamophobia. Whenever Muslims and their bitches start crying about Islamophobia, you know that Muslim violence has spiked. That's a fact. So, as I wrote in Truth number 9 from my 2013 PG article, 10 Truths Mainstream Comic Books Evade to Promote Muslim Superheroes. 9. You can't insert 9/11 into a superhero world without avenging it. Meaning, if you're going to bring that aspect into your DC universe, which they did for this character, what the fuck did the DC heroes do to Al Qaeda and the Islamic enemy after that? They let them go? Meaning, if 9/11 actually happened in the DC universe, What did the DC Universe superheroes do to avenge it? Once you introduce the reality of 9/11 into your fictional universe of DC Comics, you have to do something about it. There has to be a reaction by Superman, by the Justice League. It has to be, or else you're full of shit, which they are clearly. So I said, you can't insert 9/11 into a superhero world without avenging it. After a dozen years, DC Comics finally acknowledges 9/11 in its comic books, but keeps its Muslim superhero from retaliating against those who have hijacked Islam. Of course, the jihadists haven't hijacked Islam, but that's the premise of the Muslim superhero, that they're the good Muslims, the true representatives of the religion of peace, while the true believers are just a small minority of extremists. This is a premise that DC wants to implicitly push, but never explicitly put to the test. So they avoid it altogether, missing the opportunity to go down a dishonest path that would inevitably lead them to the truth that they want to avoid. I got to repeat that because it seems like a circular thing, but think about the logic of this, okay? This is a premise. The idea that Muslims, that's the premise of the Muslim superhero, that they're the good Muslims, the true representatives of the religion of peace, while the true believers are just a small minority of extremists, right? This is a premise that DC wants to implicitly push, but never explicitly put to the test. So they avoid it altogether, missing the opportunity to go down a dishonest path that would inevitably lead them to the truth that they want to avoid. DC Comics used to publish a comic book called The Brave and the Bold. Used to. I said, I am sick of these gutless turds creating Islamic propaganda for the Islamic enemy, no matter how they tell themselves otherwise. And here's where truth number 7 comes in. So the truth number 7 out of the 10 that I did for Peach and Media was Islam is contrary to the superior tradition that was built by quote unquote the descendants of apes and pigs. You know those are Jews. Referred to a number of times. Jews are referred to a number of times as the descendants of apes and pigs in the Quran. So I wrote, while American superheroes, most of them created by Jews, were fighting the Nazis in comic books during World War II, the Muslim world, which is like an alien planet, the Muslim world. Why do we say it that way? As opposed to the civilized world, I guess, right? The Muslim world allied with Nazis in real life. Terrorist Yasser Arafat's uncle, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, was in Germany trying his best to expedite the Holocaust, complaining that the Germans were too lazy to get the job done. Now, keep in mind, guys, that, people think about, well, that was in World War II, right? In America, people think about 9/11 as that's the first. No, Muslims were attacking Americans for decades before that, but even more so for a few centuries before that, with the Barbary Wars, with Thomas Jefferson, with the birth of the Marines. The Muslim pirates were sacking our ships, taking our people, making them slaves, men, women, children, whatever they can grab. And Thomas Jefferson heard of it, fought it, and put the mad dogs down. And there was a time prior to that where it was Jefferson and John Adams. They did a joint session in Congress to discuss what was happening, and they, being learned statesmen, which we don't have today. They were learned. They were statesmen. They read the Quran, and they told Congress, "Look, we got a problem here. These guys mean what they say. It's not a deviant form of the religion. This is the religion. And it requires them to treat us like we're nothing, to take our people, kill them, abuse them, enslave them. So we're going to have to stop them." And we did. We did. So we dealt with these scumbags from our founding. And that's the way you deal with them. You read their book. You understand it. You understand what they mean, that they mean business, and then you attack them based on that, knowing that you can't reason with them. We need to get back to that. So, this is what I said. While American superheroes, most of them created by Jews, were fighting Nazis in comic books during World War II, the Muslim world allied with Nazis in real life. Keep that in mind. Terrorist Yasser Arafat's uncle, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, was in Germany trying his best to expedite the Holocaust, complaining that the Germans were too lazy to get the job done. The creators of Superman, Batman, and Captain America were all Jews, or as the Quran refers to them, the descendants of apes and pigs. To see this Muslim superhero trend take place in a medium built by Jews during a time of war where Jews are targeted more than others is particularly disturbing. I wrote that in 2013, by the way. Superheroes were a way for cartoonists in World War II to smash our enemies, to give them themselves and the readers a much needed taste of victory against them. Can you imagine Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, instead of creating Captain America in order to fight Nazis during World War II, because this is the example here, creating a German superhero while ignoring Nazis in World War II? That's as likely as Obama talking up America as much as he praises Islam. And then I put a link to that article. But let me read, because I'm just going through these random posts that I made about Miss Marvel. Um, that's right, Darren. The Muslim Green Lantern should have been a Sinestro Corps member or red. Hilarious. Anthony Perron says Islam means pedos. Also, we desperately need a modern version of the Templar Nuts. Um, we need a lot. We need, on all fronts, we need an intellectual battle. We need um, honesty. We just need, because if you don't tell the truth, you can't act on it. And we haven't told the truth about Islam, about the true nature. We haven't. We've kept it from ourselves in a lot of ways. People don't want to know the truth. This idea that we want the truth, absolutely not. Most people don't. It's a tragic thing, but that's just part of reality. We have to accept it. You have to really find an interesting way to get it through to them. You can't shove it down their throat, clearly. Part of what I'm doing is trying to get the truth out in a story form, in an entertaining story, with twin brothers and a Muslim, a Muslim superhero who ends up being a super villain naturally, because that's what he would be. Super Jihad, and of course Pigman. Uh, People can swallow the truth more so that way than they would just some textbook or even reading the Quran. It's a mind-numbing experience reading the Quran. Mind-numbing. Um, it's I wouldn't recommend it. But I would say if you want to know what the enemy is, if you want to have a good idea where they come from, of course you should read it. But you should read Robert Spencer's Quran, where he puts everything in context, because it's it's a tough read. I'll just say that. Anyway, so I said, not only has the outspoken Disney Marvel not shown moral support for Israel in the face of the Islamic atrocity against it. This is, I think, 11 days after the atrocity of October 7th. Not siding with the civilized world, with a civilized over the barbaric, but they're about to release The Marvels, which is the film debut of their Muslim superhero, Miss Marvel. Yep. Big Harry Nuts 2.0. I love your work, man, and it's sad we don't get to DC comics. Marvel comics aren't nothing good today. They really aren't, man. I miss the original comic books. You should publish a manifesto based on your post, and it will inspire a young generation to raise hell, and they will get the truth out there. I appreciate it, Big Harry. And I did write something. Thank you for stepping up, Bosh. Appreciate it, Anthony. Thank you. Um, Darren Wagner said, I had a discussion with a Muslim once who called Jesus a good prophet. I said, how can you say he's a good prophet when he declared kinship with God? It was like pulling a mask off the guy. That's the thing about Islam's version of Jesus, right? Islam's version of Moses and Abraham and all that, right? They're all Muslim, guys. They don't recognize Jesus as a Christian, or as being born a Jew and raised a Jew and, and dying a Jew and then being, the Christian prophet. They don't see him as that. They see him as Muslim. And the Jesus that was crucified was an imposter. The real Jesus went to heaven, right? And he's a Muslim. So Muslims will lie every chance they get to try to fool Christians, and Christians are more than willing to be fooled. Like, especially want to say Islam means peace. Like, oh, okay, you love Jesus too. Okay, good. So yeah, we both hate Jews, which some Christians do, and they team up for that without thinking it through. So wait a minute. In the end, Jesus is a Muslim in the Quran, so he's a Muslim prophet. That's a problem. It should be a problem. But there's a lot of weaklings out there who want to break bread with Muslims, and think that it's doable. No, it's not. It's not at all. But Big Hairy Nuts. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can pull this up. I'm going to have to, I don't like to get on the screen too much here, but let me do this. Let me keep this here and let you see something regarding my quote unquote manifesto, because I did do something a little while back, which you can see at my website right here. It's my Draw Muhammad challenge. Remember all the challenges, the ice bucket challenge, all that bullshit? I was like, you know what? How about a real challenge? How about a Draw Muhammad challenge? Why not? A Draw Muhammad challenge. And that's what I did. And it's a long article. I wrote it. It says here 2023. I wrote it a few years before that. It was supposed to be published by Front Page Magazine. And the word is, from what I gather, after speaking with David Horowitz, was that some of the crew were not crazy about having that published. He loved it. He called it my manifesto. That's why I'm bringing it up here. It's at my website, bossfoss.com, in the blog area. Check it out. It's my Draw Muhammad challenge. And everything that I wanted to say about drawing Muhammad and free speech is in here. It's my most focused, most comprehensive article about free speech and why I do what I do. So check it out when you can. I would appreciate that. It's worth definitely worth reading. Again, I put everything I had into it. I basically said everything that I want to say about the issue. To me, it's a life or death issue. It's the issue of all time, not just of our time. Free speech. If you can't argue, if you can't persuade, if you can't tell the truth, if you can't change minds or try to, what good is our freedom if you don't have the freedom of thought and freedom to express that thought? We're not free. So I wrote this also linking to the religionofpeace.com 2020. Again, it varies here. It's going from all different types of things here for some reason. I don't know why. During a global jihad where a few hundred innocent people are murdered each week, see the religionofpeace.com. Marvel in 2021 will debut a live-action TV version of its Muslim superhero comic character. That's 4 years now, guys. There's been no second season, and there won't be, and that's good, and that's a good thing, as I love to say. While Marvel never tires of telling us how their fictional universe is the world outside our window, guys. 1 second, guys. 1 second. We hear this, guys. You know, Marvel, right? The editors all say the world outside our window. That's what Marvel is. And DC pulled that shit also recently when Scott Snyder, that mediocrity, farted out something along the lines of supposedly absolute Batman is going to fight white supremacists, right? About the world outside our window. Notice how it's a fictional threat that leftists pretend exists in the real world. That there's this big organized group of, anti-black, pro-white, racists who are organized and trying to take over the world or whatever, right? It's absolute bullshit. Definitely, Anthony, smash that like, hit that subscribe. Thank you. Please do. Appreciate it. Yes, Darren. Darren says, I did not know Islam's version of Jesus is a Muslim. That makes sense now. Yes. Yeah, all prophets, okay. The conceit is that all prophets are Muslim, right? All prophets are Muslim. And Christians and Jews hid that from their fellow Christians, Jews, and children, and so on, right? They lied to hide Muhammad because they knew Muhammad was coming, and he was his parts that were in the Torah and in the Bible, right? In the New Testament, all that was taken out by dirty infidels, because the final and greatest of prophets finally came and united all. That's the conceit. What happened was that, you got these Arabs, savages in the desert, who raided caravans, who murdered, who stole, who lied, and they wanted to get, from their perspective, in on the religion racket. And they said, you know what? Let's get in on this, but let's not change anything we do, really. Let's just give a religious cloak about it, meaning we'll continue raiding these caravans, we'll continue murdering and killing and conquering and, Islam, well, prior to that, just making, basically being criminal gangsters. But now we can say we're doing it in the name of Allah and God. That's why they did that. That's why they got in there. And they were wise to it in that sense, where they got away with murder to this day. 1,400 years of jihad. Last week, over 200 people were slaughtered, and nobody talks about it. I posted every single week on X, every single week. Last week in jihad, and so on. I make my commentary. But you're going to talk to us about war like a dumb fuck like Dave Smith, a piece of shit comedian who says, I'm anti-war, anti-war. If you're not anti-jihad, I don't want to hear about you. You're a liar. You're only anti-Israel and anti-counter jihad and anti-counter war. You're not against those who start the wars. You're not. You're not. Did he come out against Islam and jihad after October 7th? No, he came out against Israel, the victim of that attack. And he's still railing about it. Almost 3 years later. Anyway. So let me just put this, let me read this here. Because again, these were things that I was writing at the time. Whenever something sparked something, I kept reminding people that there's this horrific Islamic propaganda being published by a mainstream superhero publisher. It's sickening to me. Sickening. Why the fuck is Marvel doing this? Because they're communists, yes, but still, it doesn't justify it. It doesn't, there was a time, again, when our superheroes were fighting our enemies. That time was long gone. We're not fighting communists or jihadists these days. Pigman does and will. At some point, he's going to, some of those who help the jihad, they're going to get a taste of Pigman as well. Communists. Okay. I said, during a global jihad where a few hundred innocent people are murdered. You can see this here. Okay. During a global jihad where a few hundred innocent people are murdered each week. See thereligionofpeace.com. Marvel in 2021 will debut a live-action TV version of Muslim superhero comic book character, Ms. Marvel. While Marvel never tires of telling us how their fictional universe is, quote, the world outside of our window. The thing that's completely missing from the world of their Muslim superhero is the only reason all of us began to talk about Islam in the first place, and that's jihad. And unlike our world, where there are endless villainous Muslims, in Marvel's Islam Means Peace fictional universe, Muslims are only portrayed as peaceful, wise, heroic, and as victims. Besides the treasonous nature of it, the callousness of the rat bastards behind this to completely ignore Islam's daily victims should be a scandal. But that would require a culture that knows its value and doesn't allow a mass murdering enemy to go uncondemned and undefeated. We don't understand what we have here in the West. We don't, at large. That's how they can get their claws in, our enemies, from the left to Muslims. Marvel and the majority of leftist-run entertainment companies have, since 9/11, been in the treasonous business of creating enemy propaganda for the Islamic enemy, of making Islam, the religion that's motivating jihad, look good, while making the West look bad. Without these types of rat bastards across the West, this enemy would have been long defeated, and thousands of innocent human beings would be alive today. Over 300,000 human beings have been slaughtered in the name of Islam since 9/11, guys. Since 9/11. Over 300,000. And I know people want to talk about only the jihad at their doorstep. If it's not happening in America, I don't care. That's just stupid. I can't stand that. To me, it's civilization first. It's not just America versus civilization first. We have allies out there who are dealing with the same enemy that we're dealing with. We have to unite over that, not pretend that we're, not involved with it. It's a global jihad. Israel's getting it, India's getting it, Europe's getting it. We have to unite. Um, the West can live with the deaths of innocents, and it can't live with criticism of Islam. Think about that. The West can live with the deaths of innocents at the hands of Muslims, but it cannot live with criticism of Islam. This is true. This is true. You have anybody on stage could talk about, this many people died, and yeah, people like, yeah, and then Islam's evil and motivated. Oh, all of a sudden they would lose their shit. They could live with anyone talking about casually about the murders. They could say last week Muslims killed 200 human beings across the world, and they wouldn't be as shocked as a person concluding that, well, Islam, the evil ideology that motivates them, that's the problem. We have to condemn it. We have to make sure that we recognize it as an enemy ideology. We have to. Absolutely. Art. Saudi Arabia is spending ridiculous amounts of money to clean up Islam's image via entertainment. And it's funny, that bitch, Candace owns, she's owned by, Muslims. That bitch was doing an interview as if anyone wants to hear what a fucking piece of shit Harvey Weinstein has to say. Who the fuck gives a shit what he has to say? I don't. He's a piece of shit. He's a lowlife. Anyway, she was gearing him up, trying to get him to say that Israel or Jews bought his companies, his movies, right? His whole catalog of movies that he made, Miramax, right? And she's going and she's going and she's going and she's like more or less, come on, tell me, who bought the catalog? Who? And he revealed that it is Qatar and the Saudis, the Qatari government and the Saudi government. So the Islamic enemy bought all those, and they didn't buy it just to buy it. They bought it to try to find out how they can manipulate those movies and themselves, change them to some extent, and learn from that as propaganda, as Art mentions here, because that's what they're in the business of, jihad and hiding that a jihad's actually going on. Big Harry Nuts 2.0 says, MTG, ugh. MTG says she is anti-war, but she wants to support the Islam kids to eat and criticize the Jews. She's such a piece of shit, dumb fuck. She's a retard. Ugh. I pray to God that she gets her wake-up call, that she realizes how wrong she is about her views. I don't think she can. I think she's stupid. Generally stupid. I highly recommend that people don't vote for her ever again. Our politicians need to quit trying to tell us that they are America first and then pick the wrong side. I love Jewish people because they are good people and they could help us take our common enemy. Candace Owens needs to be arrested and charged. If she's involved with crime, sure, but yapping away, no. We can condemn her, absolutely. If we find out that she is in bed and she is a paid propagandist for our enemies, isn't that different story? But keep in mind also, Big Harry Nuts 2.0, we need to declare war on jihad, and therefore the countries that promote this and pay for it and try to influence our culture, then it will have teeth. It won't be just, there are traders in this country who've been paid off by Muslims in order to praise Islam and trash the West, 100%. They're sellouts, they're traders, and that's become the norm. It's not even seen as something evil to them and to others. It is evil. What Marvel is doing is evil, promoting Islam as a good thing for the last decade, over a decade, 12 years. What DC's doing as well. They have their own, Muslim superheroes. Green Lantern, Night Runner, that dumb fuck, Grant Morrison, who created at least 2 Muslim superheroes. A crackhead. But yeah, there's a real problem, and we take it as the given, and we think it's the norm. It's not the norm. We should not have enemy propaganda in our comics, in our shows, in our comedy. You got that piece of shit, again, Dave Smith, that Islam whore, who never says anything against Islam or jihad. And once, I don't give a fuck if you don't like Israel. I don't give a fuck if you don't. They're dealing with a jihad, an ancient jihad. They're not dealing with it's not a land issue. It's not anything else. It's jihad. And If you're going to talk about that war and not talk about jihad, you're not talking about the reality. You're not talking about, you're not speaking the truth. You're a propagandist. Um, so let me just finish this. The West can live with the deaths of innocents, and it can't live with the criticism of Islam. Again, I'll repeat it for the third time. It's worth noting. If anyone goes on a stage today and talks about how many people have been murdered in the name of Islam since 9/11, which is over 300,000, right? And last week 200, and the week before that 300, the week before that 400. I know these things because I post them every single week. It's like a clockwork. Saturday night, I look at that list, I post it, I make some commentary always, every single week, just as a reminder for myself and others. This is happening. I don't give a fuck what you're saying about Israel. This is happening globally. The same jihad against Israel is the jihad against us, against Europe, against everywhere, against India. So the West can live. So again, if someone goes on stage and mentions this, right, people will take that as a given and not react to it too much. If they say someone was slaughtered on the street by Muslim, and they're like, yeah, and then you say, and Islam's evil, that's when all hell will break loose. More so than mentioning the fact that these horrific things are happening, the fact that Islam is evil and motivating these horrific things, that's enough to make people lose their shit. Again, they can live with the deaths of people at the hands of Muslims. They can't live with us criticizing Islam. Art says a Saudi bought SNK, so they own multiple iconic video game series now. My God, they got their hands and everything. These scum. I told you I had at least two aggressive offers to buy me out. And when I say this, believe me, when I say billions, doesn't matter. If they say, we'll give you billions, there's no price for freedom, no price for free speech, zero. I do this, I love free speech, I love freedom, and I mean it. I don't just say it like a lot of people say it. I love free speech, but, you know, um, but boys, they're the butt boys, the real Islam butt boys. I love free speech, but you shouldn't drill Muhammad. And this idea, right, where it's like it's hate. It's like fucker. Once human beings were slaughtered in the name of Islam for drawing Muhammad, there's no more respect given. There's no more concern about that. They cross the line. It's over. And even so, it never mattered. Meaning, even if they didn't kill, even just threatened, it's like, yeah, you don't have the right to threaten. But they went across the line and slaughtered human beings in the name of cartoons. Over cartoons. That's madness. And again, I live off my cartoons. I live off of free speech. This is my bread and butter. And I don't know. I don't know. It's just, it's unbelievable that we are where we are in 2025. But anyway, let me just finish up and then let me go for a few more because I got a whole load of these guys and I'm going to be here for a little bit. I got to leave at a certain point. Let me time it actually. Give myself a half hour probably. What? Okay, I guess my phone's off, so my watch can't. It's not connected to the internet. What a strange thing. What a weird thing. But anyway, I'll give myself about a half hour. The West can live with the deaths of innocents, and it can't live with criticism of Islam. Until that changes, Islam critics, truth tellers, will continue to be seen as worse than terrorists. This is not an exaggeration, guys. It's not an exaggeration. People hate me more than they hate Hamas. On my threads, on my feeds. They condemn me. They don't condemn Hamas at all, and they condemn me as evil, as scum, as worthy of being arrested and killed. Until that changes, Islam critics, truth tellers will continue to be seen as worse than terrorists, and the Islamic enemy will continue to get stronger in a nuclear age. And we all know what that could lead to. But most of us are too weak, too dishonest, too stupid to give a damn. Yeah. And let me go now. Yeah, this was funny actually. You could accuse me of doing what every July did about the billboard and all that. But when I did debut, Pigman on Kindle, Comixology, it did go right around Dark Knight and Batman Year One for that opening for that first week. Cool as hell. I like that. Um, oh yeah, this is along those lines, I guess. That's what. Uh, Marvel Studios. This was me putting this one little dialogue moment. I do this sometimes. Just have like a little dialogue thing. Marvel Studios. We support Chris Evans expressing. Okay, this was sparked by Kevin Feige, the dumb fuck, saying that Chris Evans was becoming more like Captain America in his private life. He goes, "Have you seen his Twitter feed? Think about that. Think about the retardedness of that Twitter feed. Captain America's on Twitter, posting comedy stuff like Chris Evans does. That's becoming Captain America." And I was so offended that I think I posted this. Marvel Studios, we support Chris Evans expressing his political views. They all say this. They always say that, guys. Whenever they get their actors get heat, whatever, they only say that though if it's left wing positions. If Chris Evans went out there and say, a MAGA, fuck Islam, it's over. They will not support him expressing his political views. They would fire him. So this is my fantasy exchange here. Marvel Studios, we support Chris Evans expressing his political views, and then me saying, so you co-sign his hardcore leftist views? Marvel Studios, we support him expressing his political views. Would you support him expressing his political views if they weren't leftist, like yours? Then of course, silence, because they would only support Chris Evans' political views since they're communist. Again, I showed you guys at the bottom here that Miss Marvel always takes the dominant spot in these covers. Always did for the last decade. Um, always. Look at her. Look at that clown face also. The ugly suit. Shit powers. Shit character. Um, I repeat something here, which I guess, no. Okay. I wrote the following in December. So I wrote this in 2015, this particular post, and I'm referencing my article, 10 Truths Mainstream, my PJ Media article, 10 Truths Mainstream Comic Books Evade to Promote Muslim Superheroes from 2013. So this is what I wrote regarding Miss Marvel. So Marvel Comics will debut its new female Muslim superhero in her own comic book, but she'll be given the name of an established, pre-existing superhero, Miss Marvel, in order to give her a leg up. I expect this character to join the Avengers or some other popular Marvel superhero group in no time. She joined the Avengers, the Champions. She'll join the X-Men. So I was just projecting. It's not doesn't take a genius to know where these guys are going to go at all. It's just common sense, So sometimes people over, you know, praise something like that. That's just it's easy to see. Um, so I expect this character to join the Avengers and some other popular Marvel superhero group, excuse me, which might keep her own series afloat for longer than it would otherwise. And let's say she ends up in the Avengers comic book. I can already see activist Muslim groups petitioning Marvel Comics to put her in an Avengers film. And it doesn't happen, and if it doesn't happen soon, they'll cry Islamophobia. Marvel, on giving this unearned tribute to Islam, has now opened the door to Muslims demanding a male Muslim superhero as well. And after that, there could even be talk about why it is that one of the great superhero icons hasn't converted to Islam yet, and so on. Again, where's the equivalent of this in the Muslim world? Where is there, in a Saudi comic book company, an American superhero? Huh? That they're publishing. Where is that? Where is it? And now we're there, 2 years later, and still this representative of Islam has not taken on those who had allegedly perverted her religion, the jihadists. And there she is in the middle of the all new, all different Avengers and the most tokenistic Avengers lineup of all time. If she is she the leader? With a black Captain America, a black Spider-Man, a female Thor, and who knows what else is coming. And so I went on and on about that. And then here's a little, I guess, the best thing about the Miss Marvel show was the family stuff. Okay, this is I remember seeing these gutless turds talking about this shit, right? The best thing about the Miss Marvel show was the family stuff, right? I said gutless turds who don't like the show, but who want to make it known to others that it's not because of the Muslim stuff. Why didn't I say the Muslim stuff? They said the family stuff. What kind of family is that? It's a Muslim family. Again, another Avengers cover poster with her dead center, as in the most important, the focal point, no matter who's around her. Art says, let me pitch it to you. Miss Marvel dates Miles Morales. Her parents find out. They try to honor kill her. That's the thing. They don't want to put this character through anything. They don't want her to. Of course, it's impossible, but my fantasy would be, hey, Bosch Fawson, take over Miss Marvel. So, okay, anything I do? Okay, you can do anything. Okay. Have her leave Islam. That's it. First issue, have her leave Islam. And let's see how beloved she is, allegedly. She's not. No one gives a shit about her. If fans give a shit about her, Muslims and leftists, they would have bought her comic. They wouldn't have been canceled every single time, 4 or 5 times so far. And they keep trying to shove her down our throat. And they're going to clearly put her in the X-Men movie. Unfortunately, I believe that's coming. Unfortunately, they're going to shove her in there. They cannot not do it. They're too leftist. They're too weak. They're too stupid. 2015, I wrote this update. White guy Mark Waid blocked me a little while ago the way he'd love to block reality. But someone sent this post his way, and his response was, Sam's Latino. Also, fuck off, you racist piece of white supremacist shit. That fucking madman. He reminds me of Tom Connors, that piece of shit in the zero sphere, losing his shit over nothing. I said in his haste to say, I like the fact that we ended up with an Avengers team with one white guy in it. That's Mark Waid talking about it. Like it's only one white guy in there, Iron Man. Everyone else is not. That's an important thing for Mark Waid. And that's Nova. Okay, comic book white guy on a team, and that's Nova. Also, while this white guy celebrates a lack of white guys in his comic book, doesn't stop to think about the fact that he's in the way of a black guy writing this super diverse comic book. How white of him? Meaning, okay, he's bragging about that there's only one white guy. Bitch, you're the writer. Why don't you give your job to Christopher Priest or someone else? To a black guy, you racist. Here's the all different Avengers lineup brought to you by a white guy. Black Captain America, Black Spider-Man, female Thor, Muslim superhero Miss Marvel, of course she's the center of attention. The Vision, red guy, and then the 2 white guys. And it's actually, I think Nova was Hispanic. I think he tried to correct me. He's Hispanic, as if I give a fuck. So I wrote, we've gone from action comics to affirmative action comics, and the industry has suffered for it, with poorly received characters being kept afloat for reasons other than the market. See Marvel's staggeringly unpopular Muslim superhero Miss Marvel, who's been canceled 6 times. This was written in 2024. And you guys, I almost guarantee you guys don't know about this one. Almost guarantee you. But there was another Muslim superhero created in the Miss Marvel. Yeah, I think he guest starred in one of the episodes, and he's another Muslim superhero. He came and went. I mean, I don't think he's been used since. But yeah, Art says she's part of the reason the Avengers game was an expensive flop. No one wanted to play her. Well, 100%. She sucks. She's a shit character. Again, the only thing that would make her interesting is if she leaves Islam. Then it's like, oh, huh. And that's when all hell will break loose. It won't happen and all that, of course. But that's the point. Make her interesting by leaving Islam. And then being a critic of Islam. And then fighting jihadists. Now we're talking. Now that character is worthy of our readership. Anyway. I wrote this 2020. January 13th. Do you remember the German, Japanese, and Italian superheroes that Marvel Comics published during World War II? Do you guys remember that? Or DC? It was timely at that time. Do you remember the German I think Tommy would maybe in the 50s, 40s actually. Submariner, Human Torch. Do you remember the German, Japanese, and Italian superheroes that Marvel Comics published during World War II? There was a time when mainstream superhero comic books took on America's enemies, but with anti-American leftists in charge of mainstream comics, there's no such thing. And instead, we have comic books depicting the religion that's motivating the global jihad as benign, with no jihadists in sight and Muslims only portrayed as heroes or victims. The only reason we began to talk about Islam as jihad, I'll repeat that till the end of time. And guess what's missing from Marvel's Muslim superhero comics? I said, this is pure Islamic propaganda shoved down our throats by the Muslims working at Marvel and greenlit by the leftist Islam bitches in charge who live to spread enemy propaganda through their publications, all while trashing America, a disgrace. And were we in a healthier culture, Marvel wouldn't dare pull this in wartime. So there was another Muslim superhero released, Amulet. Amulet, that was the name. I'm not. I don't want to even link to it. It's so bad. Look at him. Look at that disgusting suit. A fat guy, purple hair. Look at this. Amulet. Okay. This was 2018 when I was banned from Twitter for good for criticizing Islam's Muslim superhero. And the way I found out was that some rats, some leftist rats, were bragging about it, and people caught some screenshots of that rat bragging about it, like he got a scalp. He got me. I had 14,000 followers at the time. It took me about 6 years to get that, and then 2, 3 years ago, I got back on X, not Twitter, starting from scratch. I've been able to get 30,000 in 3 years, so that's pretty good. That's pretty good. But it was a time when I was off of Twitter for 5 or 6 years. I lost over 25,000 followers across platforms, which I can't afford. I just can't. I need to have some kind of platforms to get my word out about my stuff. I need it. Um, so this is what I wrote, 2018. I've been suspended again by Twitter. That time was for good. I was actually banned for good. Context: the head of Marvel Studios was asked by someone in the BBC who had a darker complexion and who had an accent, likely a Muslim, if Marvel. Listen to this. This is how it happens, guys. That gutless turd, Kevin Feige, said was doing an interview with the BBC, and it was a swarthy guy who asked him a question: "Is Miss Marvel going to be in the movies?" What do you think, Kevin Feige? No, she sucks. No, like yes, she will. Pressured. They're pressured. They want to Islamize comics even more and the movies, and then have her family and have her brother maybe a superhero. And who knows? Who knows? This is what they do. They put their nose in the tent, as they say, of the camel, right? And they take over, step by step, by incremental step. Will she be in the movies? And the answer was yes. So I tweeted about it, calling out Marvel for continuing to publish the Islamic propaganda comic book while Muslims continued murdering in the name of Islam every day. And how callous that was. I naturally got a number of Islamophiles responding to me, and Twitter decided that my reply in the attached screenshot was cause to oust me for hateful conduct. Last time they pulled this, they claimed it was a mistake after a few days. This time, I don't know. Yeah, so that was my ban. I was banned for good. I said, Lori Hyrup. This was the tweet that I did. Even though my last tweet was about free speech. So this was the reason that they ended up shortly after a few more tweets banning me for good. While devout Muslims commit death and destruction in the name of Islam on a daily basis, and Marvel completely ignores that, keep cheerleading for evil. Keep cheerleading for evil. And now this is a killer here. This is worth noting here, guys. But Sebastian Lissig writes, "Hey Sebastian, as someone with Anatolian, is that how you pronounce it? Greek ancestry. Thank you for speaking out against this POS religion. They only care about domination by any means. This is true, Sebastian. And thank you. I appreciate that. It has to be spoken by many voices. And once it gets mainstream, once we start seeing characters and cartoons as that recognizing Islam, once there's, an adaptation of Pigman, to be blunt, out there in any form, video game, TV, movies, Our culture is ready to end jihad and to make a Muhammad movie. Now the fact that that's impossible right now, a Muhammad movie, impossible, is damning as hell to our culture. Who gives a fuck what they want or don't want? It's not about them. It's not about them. It's what we have to do. An honest movie about Muhammad. Portray him honestly. And if you portray him honestly, you damn him and damn his religion. That's what you do. Rob Lee says liberal heathens are cowards at heart and the barbarian scares them to capitulation. That's true. Let me read this now, guys. This was really, I caught this. It's shocking, actually. And let me tell you what it was. It was a solicitation for Miss Marvel. I wrote this in 2022. But it was for an older ad that they had. An older ad, so 2013. Anyway, I don't know when it was, but let me just read this. Disney Marvel just released its trailer for its Muslim superhero live-action series, Miss Marvel, which ended with a live-action take on the attached. Yes. Okay, that's why I reposted this. Hey, Diana. Hi, Bosch. Hi, Chad. I'm looking forward to Pigment #1 from your crowdfunding campaign. Pigment is a modern-day superhero to battle the global jihad. Thank you for backing it, Diana. And anyone else who hasn't backed it, if you're here, please consider backing it. Go to Fund My Comic, Pigment #1. I would really appreciate your support. I need your support. I need to get it out there in a big way, in a strong way. And I was supposed to close it at the end of July, and there was a few kings wanting to close and launch. So soon, guys, very, very soon, I'm going to close it. Hopefully with Ethan. I want to have a strong closing. So I will do that soon. I will keep everyone updated to that as we go. But thanks, Dan. I appreciate it. And again, if you haven't, check it out. At least go to fundmycomic.com. I guess fundmycomic.com, and look for it's in the top area. It's, I think, third right now on the list of comic books that are being funded, that are being crowdfunded. And check out Pigment #1. Check out the trailer. Check out the 9-page preview, the 6 different covers, all the rewards I have. I need your support. Please. Thank you very much. So check this out, guys. I was reminded because the TV show had this image of her overlooking New Jersey from, looking at New York from New Jersey, right? Look what they did here. Disney Marvel just released its trailer for and ended with a live-action take on this attached visual from a number of years ago. Here's what I wrote about the visual at the time. In the below description to their Muslim superhero, Miss Marvel, Marvel Comics writes that she's coming for you, New York. It's not an exaggeration, guys. It's not an exaggeration. Marvel Comics, the communists and Muslims there, made this ad. Now, that's me superimposing what they did in the solicitation on this image, just to emphasize it. They said Marvel Comics is a Muslim superhero. They didn't put it that way. They said Miss Marvel is coming for you, New York. Coming for you, New York. Muslims came for us. They slaughtered us. Thousands. And now they're using it as an ad, that notion that the Muslim spirit is coming for New York. I mean, how does a young girl from Jersey City become the next okay, so this is their solicitation. How does a young girl from Jersey City become the next biggest superhero? She wasn't, never was. And they try to compare it to Peter Parker. How? Peter Parker's a good kid. You know, she's in the thrall of evil. Even though they don't make her into a Muslim, she's like a valley girl, like a, hey, she's always laughing and joking. She loves superheroes. She idolizes superheroes. That's not very Muslim. I said, Kamala has no idea either, but she's coming for you, New York. Here's the cover. I added Marvel's text to it to drive the tone-deaf point home. I recently challenged Marvel's senior vice president of publishing, Tom Brevoort. What a name. What the fuck? Brevoort. About their promotion of Islam, despite the fact that he says he knows nothing about Islam. He ended up naturally, for leftists, calling me a Nazi, even though Nazis were leftists like him. And a note to Marvel Comics, if Muslims didn't come for New York in 1993 and 2001, Your description and cover would not be as ill-boding as it is. But the whole purpose of your Muslim superhero is to pretend that Muslims aren't coming for us during a time of war when they are coming for us every single day. 247 people were just murdered in the name of Islam this week alone, March 15th, 2022. If they weren't, your Muslim superhero could have been eyeing the Twin Towers instead of the Empire State Building on your cover. While it's clear you've given your Muslim writer and Muslim editor free reign to do as they please with your Muslim superhero, here are 10 reasons. So I linked to my article from PJ Media. I wrote this in 2017. Have you read Marvel's Miss Marvel comic? No, it looks really bad. I have zero interest in it. Did you know the character is Muslim? Yeah. Wow, racist. I don't know. As in, you didn't read it and you knew it was Muslim. I guess that was my attempt at being funny. It's not that funny. What's this now? Okay, I can't link to it because it's my blog. Another quoting here. Okay. I quoted my PJ Media article again, but this is actually something that I didn't write about here yet. This is 2014. I anticipated this push for Marvel's Muslim superhero to get her own film. The Marvel characters that have gotten their own films are 50 plus years old, with Captain America being 73 years old, yet this character who's less than a year old warrants her own film? On what grounds that she's Muslim? What have Muslims done to have Marvel Comics honoring them with their very own superhero who hangs around Spider-Man and Wolverine? Nothing. Marvels need to have their Muslim superhero constantly guest starring in popular Marvel comics as a sign that she can't stand on her own as a character. Yet today, here's the popular comic books news site Newsrama's pitch for a Miss Marvel movie. That piece of shit site, Newsrama, said this: Kamala Khan could give Marvel Studios something very special it may not get in pure form, a Peter Parker type. Again, it's offensive. Peter Parker is an icon as much as Spider-Man is. Everyone knows about him. He's from day one, his situation with his uncle, what he did, and then from decades and decades and decades of building his character. She's already drawn the comparison in the comics. No, she hasn't. With Peter himself saying they're similar. Peter himself? No, the Islamophilic writer of Spider-Man had Peter say that in order to echo Marvel's editor-in-chief that she's like Spider-Man. What's Muslim about Spider-Man? And mentoring her a bit in recent issues. Mentoring her a bit, he's mentoring her. The fact that she's a non-Christian woman of color really doesn't hurt things either, giving a three-pronged booster shot of diversity into the MCU. This was what was considered comic book journalism. Sick. Someone actually watched the Miss Marvel show. I wrote this 2022, quote, "It's not the worst experience I've ever had. I mean, I have been punched directly in the face, believe it or not, and it wasn't quite as bad as that from a review." I don't know who did that review, but that's pretty funny, actually. And then I put a racist, sexist, Brie Cheese Larson said that she didn't want the press tour for Captain Marvel to be overwhelmingly white and male. I think some of this is spilled over from the Captain Marvel, which I didn't want to. I wrote this 2022. Rumors that Marvel's Muslim vice president of content and character development has been fired due to sexually harassing 2 male employees. That was like a rumor, and it lasted for a bit. It lasted for a bit, guys. There is no confirmation of that from Disney Marvel, but there wouldn't be, as the leftist hacks in charge will do anything to avoid even the whiff of Islamophobia. But there has been no denial either, and Aminat, whose media whore, has been silent and off the grid for months. Here she is from a few years back, posing with someone dressed as Marvel's Muslim character, Miss Marvel, who Samanat co-created, and notice that she's wearing the kind of scarf that was made famous by Muslim terrorist Yasser Arafat. She's wearing the kafia. Man. Oh, God, look at this. The bad guy finally shows up in the final panel of Miss Marvel #4, Marvel's Muslim superhero comic book. How can you tell? I'm a bad guy. And how exactly do you plan to do that? She never fought Muslims, by the way. Let's see. Big Harry Nuts 2.2.0. You have my respect for you. You have my respect for you, man. Thanks. I never thought I'll be following a great comic book writer that would actually speak the truth. You truly are a hero that we all need. It's very kind, but it's a little embarrassing, but thank you. I'm glad to see you, Laura Loomer, and a few others are calling out the evil that's in our country, even if some are people are ignorant. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for reposting. And I'm sorry, guys. You know, I get embarrassed by those things, and they come in to me in and out the air. No offense to you, I do appreciate it, but I've had the same person tell me one week, "You're a genius, you're a hero," and then you're a piece of shit right after. So I don't get too high, I don't get too low. But I will say this though: when Muslims call me retarded, I'm like, I was raised Muslim. When people call me genius, I say, imagine if I wasn't raised Muslim. You know, I have a little laugh with it. But thank you. I don't mean to not appreciate it. I do, but it's a little embarrassing. Think about it if you were told those things. I think it's a little. I think you'd be embarrassed too. But thank you. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Um, huh. Okay, so I don't know what this is about, but Kamala Core. So Bosch Fawson, the idiot Islamophobe cartoonist who just last year tried to spread literal fake news about Miss Marvel, don't know what that means, got suspended from Twitter the same weekend that it was said Kamala is coming to the MCU. Thank you, universe. I said literal fake news, and the name Kamala Core isn't as in Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, Marvel's Muslim superhero. The fact that Marvel can get away with publishing a pro-Islam propaganda comic in wartime as innocent people are murdered by Muslims on a daily basis is madness. Riri Williams. This was the amulet, guys. This was the other Muslim superhero that they added that guest starred, I think, in Miss Marvel's comic, which is horrifically annoying and boring. Um, Thanks for being here, everyone. I do appreciate it. Thank you. And again, uh, I don't mean to be an ingrate. Big Harry Nuts 2.0. What a name. I don't mean to be an ingrate. I don't mean to dismiss your, um, you know, compliment. I don't. But to me, this is the norm. After 9/11, I was like, I got to tell the truth about this, and I got to respond to it. I didn't think anything of it beyond that. A part of me assumed I'd be getting competition with other pig themed anti-jihad superheroes. It never came about, which shocked me. But let me just read this. I said Marvel Comics, through their leftist shills in the media, tells us that they have a new Arab American superhero named Amulet, who was created by the Muslim writer and Muslim illustrator of Marvel's Muslim superhero comic book, Ms. Marvel. Why are they so coy about it, calling him an Arab American instead of spelling out the fact that they now have a second Muslim superhero debuting in an issue of Marvel's? Hello, Jeremy. How's it going, man? Hey, Hamilton. I have to tap out now. No problem, man. But another good stream. Sound worked great. Keep it up with the new channel, Bosch. Thanks, Hamilton. Appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. Thanks for the commentary, guys. Always appreciate it. I'm going to go through a few more of these, actually, and I do got to get going myself. I got to finish a workout. Got to finish my circle. Well, maybe he's not Muslim. You think the characters Muslim creators aren't hell-bent? Okay. Keep in mind, this character was created by Muslims, and they kept referring to him as an Arab American superhero. No, he's a Muslim superhero. Well, maybe he's not Muslim. You think the characters of Muslim creators aren't hell-bent to shove another Muslim superhero down our throats in wartime? It would be un-Islamic of them not to. The only reason we began to discuss Islam is jihad, period. And Marvel, who claims to tell stories that take place in a world outside our windows, and in the middle of a jihad being waged on civilization, is debuting a second Muslim superhero with no mention of the jihad outside our windows. Marvel's first Muslim superhero has been around for over 5 years now. There were other Muslim superheroes, Dusk and all that, right? But it was the first one that's had her own comic. Marvel's first Muslim superhero has been around for over 5 years, and she has yet to fight those who we're told had perverted Islam. Again, even if you take that bullshit seriously, that the jihadists pervert Islam, why isn't she fighting those who quote-unquote pervert Islam to save Islam's name? Why not? Because they don't want to get in that mess. They don't want to even get close to that truth, that these are Islam's true believers. Because I said, why not? Because jihadists haven't perverted Islam. They follow a perverted religion. And the Muslims at Marvel know that they can continue to get away with it without addressing the camel in the room, not the elephant room. Marvel only hires Muslims to write their Muslim superheroes, and they only hire anti-American leftists to write America. Think about that also. That's true. But then they also just published an issue of a new Punisher series, Punisher Soviet, where the Punisher's Russian counterpart refers to the Muslims in Afghanistan as goat fuckers. That was a Garth Ennis comic. And he tells the Punisher, those fucking people, they treat their women worse than they treat their dogs, and they don't treat their dogs well. And the issue, which recounts the 80s when the Russians invaded Afghanistan, shows the mujahideen, the jihadists, to be savages in their brutality. I always appreciate any kind of truth being told about this enemy. I'll take it wherever I can get it. But you can't also have an Islamic propaganda comic book with no jihad in sight while claiming that the Islamic enemy is perverting Islam and not having these Muslim superheroes fighting these so-called perverters of Islam. This is 2022. The Islamophilic leftist media is saying that Marvel's She-Hulk series is beating its least popular show, Miss Marvel, its Muslim superhero series. First, if it's only beating Marvel's worst show, that reveals that it has low ratings. Second, using its low-rated Muslim show to try to lift up She-Hulk is hilarious and, as leftists would say in almost any other context, Islamophobic. Here's the first time I posted that one thing. It was 2014, a year after she debuted. Marvel, in the solicitation for the Muslim superhero, said, "She's coming for you, New York." I mean, again, the blindness of these rats. I wrote this 2022. While Disney Marvel keep promoting their Muslim superhero show, Miss Marvel, those considered Islam's actual heroes, jihadists keep murdering. Keep in mind that Disney Marvel callously ignored this carnage in order to promote a sanitized version of Islam. Okay. 2019, I wrote this. The silver lining in Marvel Studios stupidly casting an insufferable feminist to play Captain Marvel and putting off so many people is that they might not be so willing to pull another stupid move and make the Muslim Miss Marvel movie that they've been threatening to make. I repeat, the only reason we're talking about Islam is jihad. I'm repeating myself a lot here, guys, but I gotta say, you never hear this, so. I'm gonna skip a few because I think, okay. You know that one thing, trying to, so this is Miss Marvel about jihad. I wrote this in 2019. It's pretty long, but it's probably worth reading. Oh, God. Again, look at this, guys. All these Avengers, right? Who's the biggest of them all? Miss Marvel. She always has a prominent spot. She's bigger than everyone here. It's unbelievable. I did this. That was Marvel. Islamic. You know what this means, guys? I think it's clear. Some people don't get it, but it's clear to me. Here was also, they kept talking about how popular Miss Marvel is. Uncanny X-Men is 176,000. The 10 is 74,000. 142 is 12,000. She was selling 12,000 copies, which is cancelable numbers. Let me just go. Spider-Man submits. I want to read that long one. This is me and Brevoort before he blocked me and called me a Nazi. I wrote this. I hope you can see it. I don't know if I can. I have a real difficulty seeing this clear here. I can show you here. Let me know if you guys can see it. I would appreciate it. Okay. I think you can. So this is me and Marvel's Brevoort. Again, what the fuck kind of name is that? But anyway, I said, Tom Brevoort, why would you publish a comic book about a culture you don't understand anything about? Islam. Because I am not the be-all and end-all. And our purpose on this earth is to learn things and discover things. That's gay. And I respond with this. My question wasn't about learning, but about publishing a story and thereby promoting Islam, something you say you know nothing about. And he goes, it sounds like you know nothing about it as well, apart from jingoistic rhetoric. I said, I know Islam intimately. I was born and raised Muslim. And eventually he blocked me. He blocked me, naturally. Um, I put affirmative action comics as one little graphic that I did. I think, okay, so let me go back to that one, and that's the last one. And I do got to get, I got to finish my workout. So where was it, guys? Okay, this one. Because I created this cartoon for this, where, you know, trying to block out stuff. She's trying to block out jihad. Because again, I will repeat it till the end of time, and you'll be annoyed, and I don't care. The only reason we began to talk about Islam is jihad. The one thing that Marvel has kept out of its comics, is Muslim superhero comics, is jihad. Why? 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 So, thanks for commenting, guys. I do appreciate it. Thanks being here. You got some good eyeballs on here, at least 225, I think, on probably X, mainly on X. But guys, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, my new one, if you could please do that, I would really appreciate it. If you can go from X to there, if you can. Or, you know, if you're there and you haven't subscribed, it's the Bosch Fawson. The Bosch Fawson, that's my new channel. If you could share it as well, I would appreciate it. And like it also, if you could like it. Thank you very much. So let me read this last thing, and then I do got to go. It's a lot, but I think it's worth it. This is the longest one that I wrote. So I wrote this 2019. The secret origin of Marvel's Muslim superhero. Marvel's Muslim editor Sana Amanat, who wears a kafia at conventions, a scarf made famous by terrorist Yasser Arafat, proposes a Muslim superhero to her gutless leftist colleagues. They naturally greenlighted out of fear that if they don't, they'll be called Islamophobes. And Amanat counted on this response. Then, no doubt at the behest of Amanat, they hire a Muslim to write it, because a filthy infidel would be unworthy. It debuts with much fanfare from Marvel and their online bitches, but without the accompanying interest or sales. No matter how many more popular comic books she's shoehorned into as a guest star. No matter how many superhero teams they shoehorn her into, like the Avengers, she remains unpopular. Her sales keep dropping, and she's always drawn as homely, with rotating amateur artists who Marvel would never have hired in years past. And so, with bad sales, they do a relaunch in order to get that issue #1 sales spike, to fool themselves and others that it's really a worthy book, despite lack of interest. Sales still suck. Then they pull another relaunch. Sales still suck. They replace their Muslim writer with yet another Muslim writer, again, because no filthy infidel is worthy to touch the character. That's why they do it, guys. That's how they see it. While Marvel only hires anti-American leftists to write America. Marvel cancels comic books starring female, black, and gay characters due to low sales. But they don't cancel their low-selling Muslim superhero comic book out of fear. Last I checked, she sold 12,000 copies a month in a country of 300 plus million, with the backing of the Disney juggernaut. The only reason we talk about Islam is jihad. And in the 5 years since Marvel has tried to shove this shit down our throats, there is no jihad in the character's comic. The only reason we talk about Islam the only reason we talk about Islam is missing from the comic. All Muslims are either heroes or victims in the comic. This is a fact. All Muslims are either heroes or victims in the comic. Even as a pretense, the character has never fought those we're told have perverted Islam. And now, after 5 years of utter failure in getting the character to earn her place in the Marvel Universe, after 2 failed relaunches, she's being rewarded for the failure by having a live-action show on Disney+. There's no privilege like Muslim privilege today. Since day one, The entire purpose of this character was for Marvel and Disney to prove that not only are they not quote unquote Islamophobic, but that they're pro Islam. The gutless turds published her comic in order to prove they're not Islamophobes. And no matter how bad sales are, they won't cancel it to prove they're not Islamophobes. And now they will have a live action show to prove that they're not Islamophobes, with no concern that they're proving themselves to be Islam bitches. I remember the moment that the idea for a live action take on it hit. The head of Marvel Studios, Kevin Feige, was on the BBC last year, and a swarthy, likely Muslim BBC anchor asked Feige if there will be a Miss Marvel movie, excuse me. And that wasn't an innocent question, as the guy was counting on the fact that Feige would not say no in order to not appear Islamophobic. And naturally, Muslims went wild online in a triumphalist way, despite the fact that they can care less for the comic book, as where are the much ballyhooed 1.5 billion Muslims when the character can only eke out 12,000 sales a month, and even those are fake, as Marvel routinely shoves extra copies to comic shops who didn't order it. It's a fact. There's no demand for Muslim superheroes, no market for them, not even in the Islamic world. And yet here we are with a number of Muslim superheroes in comics, and all out of fear, all in wartime as jihad rages on. There have been, by the way, 100 probably now by now 180 190,000 human beings murdered in the name of Islam since this character made her debut, 2013. Okay. Last three paragraphs, and I do gotta go. The anti-reality punks at Marvel fancy themselves as being reality-based and claim that their fictional universe is the world outside your window. The world literally outside of Marvel's window saw the atrocity of 9/11 happen, and they never published anything that came close to telling the truth about what happened. And no matter how many Islamic atrocities have happened since, with thousands of atrocities during their time publishing their Muslim superhero, Marvel continues ignoring the world outside of our windows, ignoring the thousands murdered by Muslims during their jihad, to continue publishing a comic book that promotes Islam and Muslims as benign victims of the West with no jihad in sight. This is enemy propaganda published by a domestic enemy for a foreign enemy. And were we a healthy culture, there would have been such a backlash against the very proposal of this enemy propaganda that it may not have had even one issue published. You think that's an extreme take? In World War II, American publishers would never have published German and Japanese superheroes while ignoring the war in their stories. But if they did, they would have not only gone out of business, but they would have been seen as traitors for producing enemy propaganda. And if it's not obvious, this is my cartoon of Marvel's Muslim superhero Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel, covering her ears and making sounds to drown out the only reason we began to talk about Islam. I appreciate you guys indulging me here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. This is I want to get back to regularly streaming about things that, to be blunt, no one else is talking about. It's always a pleasure having you guys here. My printer is, I guess, cleaning itself up. But guys, take care, be well, and I will see some of you tomorrow on Comics Hit Kings. Appreciate it, guys. And if you haven't backed Pigman, please consider going, at least taking a look at it. Take a look at my campaign at fundmycomic.com. Check it out, Pigman #1. 9-page preview. I have a trailer there by Shanth and Jetty, a great trailer. I also have another one on my channel, on my YouTube channel. Check that out as well. And I have a number of rewards on there, and you can check out the 6 covers as well, and some of the extras, some of the original art and stuff. So thank you very much, guys. I do appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Take care. Be well. I will see you tomorrow night if you're going to watch Comics Get Kings. Take care. Thank you.